Welcome to Vestiges of Violence. Here, we talk about survivors. For Human Angle, I am Sabika. The thing with conflict is that it doesn't only violently uproot people from their homes, it robs them of any sense of safety, stability, and sometimes their very identities. Through Vestiges of Violence, one of Human Angle's flagship programs, we shed light on the human cost of conflict in Nigeria. In 2024, we shared the heartbreaking stories of displacement, abduction, and injustice that have shattered lives, torn families apart, and left communities grappling with unimaginable loss. But amidst these stories of pain, we have also seen resilience. Survivors who, despite the odds, have summoned the strength to rebuild, to speak out and hope for a future free of conflict. Among these stories of survivals are those of abduction and captivity. Aisha's story is one of them. Abducted by Boko Haram in northeastern Nigeria, she spent 8 years in captivity, during which she was forced into 2 different marriages with insurgents and gave birth to 4 children. And there was Hawa, newly married at the time. She was abducted by the same terrorist group while gathering firewood in the forest to sell. Hawa spent 2 years in the terrorist hands. When she finally escaped with her captor's child, she was left to wonder whether her husband would accept her back. We also told you the tragic tales of displacement, where entire communities are uprooted and left to start over and over again. Take Binta Bukar, a 54-year-old woman from Borno in northeastern Nigeria who has been displaced 13 times as a result of insurgency. Her life has become a continuous search for stability and a longing for the children she lost while running. Similarly, Elizabeth, a widow from Cross River State in south-south Nigeria, fled with her 6 children after militants from Cameroon attacked her village. She spent a week hiding in the bush before joining the rest of her community to seek refuge at a ranch. Life there was difficult for her, as she struggled with the uncertainty of her future and grieved the loss of her missing eldest son. We have uncovered the struggles of farmers in northwestern Nigeria, how women like Rabi Agada, Ai Awalun Nasara, and Rabi Garba are struggling to survive in the face of persistent terrorist attacks on their farms. Farming is their major source of livelihood, but it has become a dangerous gamble and they can no longer sustain their families. In Plateau State, north-central Nigeria, we documented the horror of the mass killing on Christmas Eve in 2023. Terrorists killed 195 people and displaced over 20,000 in Bokkos, Mangu, and Birkin Ladi. We shared the first-hand accounts of Ladi Isaac, Paulina Adam, and Apollos Habila, all survivors of the terror of that night. There are stories that convey the toll of conflict on families too. Pojeldi Lazarus, a 19-year-old student from Adamawa, lost her mother in the farmer herder crisis. Her mother, Beauty, was shot while trying to escape an attack on their village. Pojeldi has been left to mourn the precious memory of her mother, a void no one has been able to fill. And really, no one can. When Mejida got married to a former Boko Haram member who had completed a de-radicalization program, she was 23 years old. However, 3 years into their marriage, he insisted on either joining a vigilante group or returning to Boko Haram. Mejida refused to follow him, and they separated. Now at 26, she lives with her mother, raising her baby in a community overwhelmed by poverty. We also revealed the injustice faced by Aisha Ishaq, a trader and mother who spent 11 years in detention without trial, separated from her children, and denied any semblance of justice. Through these stories, we have amplified the voices of survivors, showcasing their resilience while also highlighting the urgent need for justice and change. By telling these stories, we bear witness to the devastating consequences of conflict. We honor the strength of those thrown into it without refuge. It is a reminder that behind every statistic lies a human story, a voice longing to be heard, a life worth saving, and a hope that must never be extinguished. You belong to the tribe of women in Nigeria's northwest who have inherited the trade of farming. It is your major means of living. You grow the food you feed your family. You sell. She runs the only shop there, selling provisions and medicine and tending to her farm. But one night, the peace in your village is shattered. Armed attackers descend upon your home under the cover of darkness. You wake up to the chaos. It feels like a nightmare at 4 a.m. when you toss and turn in bed. That day, Paulina lost her uncle.
They surrounded the whole village. It was until almost 7 p.m. that we were able to crawl out with cotton. I got to go home to check and see if they had left. When I came out,
1 minute, you are a newly married woman enjoying the bliss of marriage and community. You are the graduating head girl of your high school. Welcome to Vestiges of Violence. Here, we talk about survivors. For Human Angle, I am Savika.